I'm a little late tonight because I was working. I mean, good problem to have. Although I gotta say, I have not been, I guess, completing projects as quickly because a lot of the projects that I've been doing are taking a little while longer to do, or I'm not sure what I want to do with them, which doesn't mean that they're not worth doing.
Right.
Just that, well, sometimes Claude can overthink a problem. So I have spent some time having Claude go through, analyze the skills that it has, deduplicate, kind of taking a fresh approach to everything. And I don't know if that's helped necessarily. I don't think it's hurt. But sometimes I wait for inspiration to strike before I create something. And sometimes finding that inspiration can be just as much of a challenge. I'm not just interested in doing something that I've already done before. I'm interested in trying something different, or at least, stepping it up. And so constantly thinking about the problems that I can solve. Sometimes in and of itself is a problem. Because I have a lot of problems, as we all do, but not all of them can be solved with software. So setting the stage for better problem solving, looking for problems that I have or thinking about them, and then trying to create solutions that, could work not just for me, but I always think, how could I take this solution and provide it to somebody else? So the first thing that I did was based upon something that happened this past week. I got my Facebook account back after it was suspended for not great reasons back in November 2024. And support wasn't getting me anywhere. I got false copyright strikes that were rescinded, but unfortunately I got caught in red tape. And so what I had done was I dumped all the information I had, all the support, all the evidence, everything. I dumped into Claude and basically said, okay, what can I do to solve this problem? And it gave me steps. It said, do this. I was like, okay, that's good. So one of the steps it gave me, not just contacting the companies, which I did, getting everything on record, which I did, but suggesting that I reach out to the state's AG, Attorney General, and submit basically a complaint. So I did that. And they replied last week. And then silently, and I only found this out like 3 or 4 days later, Facebook or Meta got the message from the AG and they turned my account back on. Even though they didn't tell me they had turned my account back on, they did, and it was gone. It was wiped out, but I was like, there's no way. I didn't do anything wrong. And I didn't do anything wrong, and I had all the evidence. But a friend of mine recently lost access to his Discord server. And he's running into the same issue where you go through traditional support channels and you can't get anywhere with these support channels. And so I said, well, here, let me take you, or let me give you an iteration of the Claude skill that's based upon everything that I did to solve my problem with Facebook or Meta. And so I did that. I packaged something and sent it off to him. And I thought, I could abstract this even further. I can keep abstracting. And so that's what I've been spending a copious amount, not massive amount of time on, but again, working the problem, thinking about what it is that I want to do and where it could go. And so what I ended up coming up with is a skill called Signal Flare. And what it'll do is it'll walk you through basically account recovery options legally. Like if there's no hacks or anything like that. But basically with different like entities like Google and LinkedIn and Meta and PayPal, et cetera, Reddit, et cetera. And the idea is you could, what's that?
Good. Yeah. Seeing the modular way that's constructed to handle the different platforms.
The different things, right? So what I'm thinking about doing is basically taking the skill, throwing it onto GitHub, and again, called Signal Flare. Because I'm like, what's a good, an interesting name? Well, sometimes when you've lost your account or you're marooned effectively, you need to send a Signal Flare. And so that's basically, and so I'm calling it Signal Flare for the lack of a better, I couldn't think of a better word, for branding. But I thought this would be worth doing again as a skill. I make no promises. I lay things out. The README says, hey, read this first. You're the legitimate owner. You can prove it. You've gone through traditional support channels, blah, 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 blah. And so it theoretically, I think under the releases page, it says download the latest skill from the releases page. And I don't know where it ends up, because I'm like, I don't see the skill in the releases page anywhere. So I don't know if I need to.
Before we get super into the details of what the skill is, I want to ask you something right away. So this is a skill. This is your thought process of how to apply a solution to the problem that you're trying to recover your account. What is it really about this being a skill that you're developing here? What part of that you and Claude put together is more than what your basic thinking through the process of just like repeatedly contacting customer service or something
it's
achieved? What did it actually get?
It's organizing, and it's giving you, it's stepping you through decisions and giving you basic templates that are non-deterministic, such that you can build, exactly what needs to be done, where pointers to where you can go, and then how to basically organize all that disparate information to be able to come to, a resolution that's going to be better than, just giving up. And most people, I think, give up because it's impossible to organize that data. And so, you could drop all that data into Claude and, work your way through the same kind of problem. But this is trying to basically organize the process once you've gone through the traditional support channels. It's just better organizing and giving you outcomes, but potentially viable outcomes, or at least a semblance like you can get further with having it help you get further than you can on your own.
Interesting. Do you have any indication? Because it sounds like this is just Claude going out and doing the research of for Facebook. Here's a thing that someone in some forum somewhere said worked, or I see Roblox is up there. For these different things,
not that.
It's just like
this isn't about support hacks. This isn't about circumventing the support system. It's using their support system, getting all the information. It's when, and as Pixel Replay says, companies purposely make it hard to do things so you will give up. And so this is a way to get people to realize that they don't have to give up if they've got the evidence, if they got a paper trail, if they've got screenshots, if they've got everything that they possibly need to build a case and to better organize that case for an attorney of record if they go that direction, or for just filing with the state's AG and have the AG contact these companies. And effectively, that's the only way I was able to get Meta back to the table. They were ignoring me. I was getting swept under the rug. Like it was never going to get solved. But when they got a knock on the door from the AG saying, hey, you need to go to the table with this guy because I think that he's got a legitimate case, that's when they went, okay, he's a pain in the ass now, flip. Because I wasn't wrong. I was not wrong. I had all the evidence. And I mean, I knew I did even before I went to AI. I'm like, dude, I didn't do anything wrong. Here's the proof. I just got caught up in red tape. Here's the proof. And so to be able to organize that and strategize it and present it to each particular entity in such a way that it is actionable and will help you get a viable outcome is critical. So to me, the skill, and again, it lays the expectations out, what it is. It's structured a set of plays for getting a stuck case in front of someone with authority to fix it. That's basically it. Because when people just give up, they're like, I'm not getting anywhere. And they're just like, it's not worth it. I'll just set up a new account kind of thing. Over and over again, I heard, just give up, just give up, just give up. And I refused to. I refused to give up. I was like, nah, dude, I didn't do anything wrong. And there's nothing that chaps my hide more than when you accuse me of something that I didn't do. And because I lost my Facebook account, people didn't know. Some people, and when I got it reactivated, like, I wonder what happened to you. I'm like, well, I didn't die. I didn't disappear. I was active on social media for the past year and a half, but Facebook is where they go, right? Facebook's where they see updates. And so these companies have policies for all the right reasons. It's just that unless you're a big spender with advertising, they're not necessarily going to pay attention to your problem.
Oh yeah. I mean, YouTube had a big thing with that shutdown.
Yes, but even when you know someone on the inside, that's the thing. I was in contact with 1, 2, 3, 4 different Facebook employees, at least 4 employees who worked it through the system and added, but even they couldn't do anything. Even they couldn't move the ball, including someone that works in HR. They couldn't do it. They just could not do it. And so I'm like, it was like, this is the nuclear option. I'm like, I had nothing to lose in terms of like, well, I already lost access to the account that I shouldn't have lost access to. This to me was the thing. So a company hired a third-party company to go after copyright on, at this point, Meta or Facebook. Yeah. And they flagged a few images that I had, which I by contract, okay to post with a contract that was I had agreed to. It was involving like a third or fourth company at that point. And so I got strike. And I DMCA'd and said, no, this is fine. It was cleared. I don't have any kind of, here's proof that I was okay to post this. And in some cases I removed the offending issues because I'm like, it's not worth for me to hold on to. Fine, delete. I don't care. Delete. Well, then they strike to the point where Facebook said, yo, you've been getting too many strikes on your page. We're going to suspend your personal profile until we can figure out what's going on. You can appeal your case here. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, so then I had to like put everything together. They rescinded their claims and went back to Facebook. I said, hey, they rescinded their claims. Everything's fine. So Facebook unsuspended the page because it was suspended. It unsuspended the page, but did not unsuspend my personal account. So
it's live,
the thing I got in trouble for, there's no problem. So I was like, I did nothing wrong. You are showing me I did nothing wrong. Yeah. So what's going on? And I was just batting my head up against the wall. I would sit on this and try to complete it in every potential way, going through the company saying, I think you have to fill out a form because you said it's okay for the content you flagged on my this page, but it's my personal profile that's suspended, and they were just caught up in red tape there. This was the only thing that was able to get me through. Sure. Having this skill or just knowing this existed would have helped me realize earlier on, oh, maybe I should have, once I've exhausted all my options, maybe I should have gone and done this way back when. And I would have had, there's zero doubt in my mind I would have had access to it earlier. But there's a whole thing of like triage, like stop the bleeding, these things, do this. Like, there's some things that you can do, some things you can't do. It depends on how much you care about it. But I'm open sourcing with the idea that these things, like these policies are going to change, addresses are going to change, contacts are going to change, all that stuff is going to change.
Oh yeah. I mean, the main thing I can think of right off the bat is these are international companies, and I'm betting all of the stuff that you've got in place, you've got states attorney general and those kind of things, like that's not going to apply to somebody who's in France or Germany.
No, it won't. But hopefully I got to plant the flag. Yeah. And like, I can't do everything. No. And so I'm willing to put it as a GitHub repository and go from there. But I also think that if I could work with somebody else, I think this could be abstracted and actually built as a more user-friendly service, like a more polished, product based upon the same framework or the same skill with either a BYOK or an actual like a service. But I don't know if I have the ability to do that on my own. I don't know if I'm there.
So you mentioned like the nuclear option, going to the attorney general and whatnot. Like, really, the question is like, how much labor, how much time filling out papers and things once you did take that step? Like, what are we really talking about? Like, how much more than did you have to do, or was it?
Honestly, I found an attorney. They agreed. I said, and they said, oh, you need, we can do this for you. I'm like, well, I already did that. We can do this for you. We just need this. And so I gave them all the evidence. Everything was organized the way it needed to be. Everything was documented the way it needed to be. But Claude did all of that. Claude gave it so that it was ready for the attorney. Like all they needed to do was basically put it on their letterhead, right? They had everything laid out. The case was clear. Everything was as they needed it. And sometimes when you are not an expert in something, I don't know how to present something. All I know is my problem needs to be solved. And the more lifting I did, the less I would get charged. Well, they were getting ready to basically do what I was going to pay them to do when the AG email that came back. And of course the results basically made it like the case was closed. Like there was nothing to complain about. So I may be getting charged like very small to, just basic processing, but I did most of the processing. I did most of the lifting. So this could end up saving money, rather than you spending money where you don't need to, apart from maybe going to small claims court in the state and, wherever it happens to be. But all this is just, it's public information. It's something where you can, you can see like, look, here's the official support channels that you have to go through. Here's what you have to do here. Here's what you have to do here. Yada, 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 yada. Like it's got a complete structure behind what you need to do, so you've got a starting point to know that you're solving the problem in every way that you could possibly solve it on your own, which most people will. Like if they're caught with their accounts down, they're trying to solve their own problem. In many ways, they ask for help. They're like, who can help? My account got this, my account got that. Can someone help? Do I know someone here? That's the first thing they freaking do. Well, this is going to give them a leg up so they can at least start to know what they need to document, where they can put it, how it's going to be organized, where it's going to be presented, and actually build and organize that for them rather than just kind of like flailing and treading water going, oh my God, how is this going to happen? Meanwhile, my business is losing money, or I've lost this or I've lost that. So this gives them a clear line of action that they don't necessarily have, or at least as easily found in any one of these resources, these social media companies that, you can lose an account, and that's not great. My girlfriend lost her Instagram account and she just gave up. She gave up and she ended up setting up a new account. So she lost all those followers, lost everything, and they didn't care. It's a big company. I get it. At some point you can't care, but that doesn't mean that you can't advocate on your own behalf. And right now, the small business owner, entrepreneur, independent or whatever, we don't have much of a voice. So we've got to use the system. This is not a workaround. This is the system. It structures the system in such a way that it becomes a solvable or achievable goal. It becomes a problem that is not insurmountable. And you feel like you're not in it alone.
Yeah,
so
I'm super eager to hear. I'm super eager to hear when you do get that final bill. I just want to know. Like,
I've got to basically
whole layout.
I'm at the point.
Your time and the bill, and how much does it cost to get your Facebook back?
It cost me more time and stress than anything, and sure. I think more than anything, I was elated because it was like almost like a case. Was like went in my favor, and like clearly I was not guilty. Like, here, look, I'm not guilty, and like I don't understand why I'm being punished. Right? It's because I didn't do anything wrong. Now, if I had violated, like truly, like done something where I was doing something antithetical to this, that, or the other thing, and was doing something that clearly was a problem, and had. Even if I have there's no, apart from small claims court, there's no way to basically prove my case. No way to say, hey, look, this was a mistake, or this was this, or this is that, to be able to at least make it easier for these support channels to facilitate the request. I can't imagine that not helping them, apart from understanding that this is something anybody could do. You could build this skill. You could do this without a skill. It's a starting point for, this is a way, because there's a billion skills out there I'm not going to install. I'm like, well, I can do that on my own. I don't need a skill to necessarily do it for me. It's another way of presenting a solution that otherwise you're just thinking, how am I going to do this? Where do I start? And this just gets a starting point. That's why I want to build a service, I think, on top of it if I found the right partner for it.
I think a lot of these companies, they get around the legal parts of this by saying, yes, it is technically possible for you to solve your issue if you jump through our hoops to do it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to eliminate, and if I open source this foundation to eliminate those loopholes, or to make it easier for people to not find, and exploit is the wrong word, but to eliminate those loopholes such that there is a clear path, or a clearer path between and I would say illegitimate account suspension and resolution than there was otherwise, right?
I don't
and that's
know
where
if you,
AI can really do the trick.
I don't know if you saw my other comment, but there was this lady who, she needed this life-saving drug. Okay, well, the insurance company, they didn't want to accept it. Okay, well, she got denied 3 separate times. And then she went through an AI software that then got her through enough to get it approved 2 days later. And
See,
it was essentially going through the Attorney General and all that, yeah.
The industries don't realize just how powerful that is and how much it's going to not hurt, but they've been used to erecting those walls that made it such a challenge that now it's no longer a challenge to get through. And so when everybody makes it not a challenge, they can erect more walls. Great. We'll just create another way around it, right? Like, it's like AI will figure it out. So they can't, the old term is like security through obscurity, right? Where you just assume they're just going to give up. Well, now you don't have to give up. Now you've got someone on your behalf, effectively AI working as an agent. This isn't even an agent construct. It's a skill, right? Everything I did was by way of Claude on the web. Everything I did. I don't use Claude Code at this point. I don't use anything on the desktop. Everything was just a web app, which is what I used to do. All right, go.
And I like how you were saying
how
how it will structure the data in such a way that not only is it easier for you to take actionable ways of getting through it, but it's able to structure the data for them to be easier for them to be able to push that forward, that problem forward.
I mean, yeah, in an ideal world, that's what you would hope. You'd hope that these companies are just doing this because this is the most financially stable solution, but it's not anything that any of the humans, any of the people working at these companies want to actually deny their customers, want to block their users from doing this. I mean, I even idealistically hope that the case of like a health claim, like the people working there are working there to try and do good. And
well, part of that is that the company itself, the higher ups, they want to make it hard so that they don't have to pay out.
Well, yeah, and it's so
right.
You distill down to the most extreme cases that they're
now the people on the other end of the phone, of course,
yeah.
they probably want to help you, but yeah, the higher ups in the company, of course, they don't.
No. It's not even the higher ups. I listened to an NPR report talking about this. It's process. So a lot of regulation that comes down from Washington, they're so disconnected from the process that when it comes to the people who actually facilitate the process, there are so many edge cases, they are powerless. Sorry, I can't do this because the process is this. And so legislators are disconnected from the people who are actually facilitating the process. And you have this problem. It's systemic. So to be able to have AI as a problem-solving tool to build solutions, right? And let's look at an abstract, this general tool to build tools to solve problems is an incredible leveler of the playing field. The power is shifting insofar as you're not going to... These companies, these entities, these organizations are no longer going to be able to hide behind these tall walls, these barriers, because people are going to tear them down if they haven't already begun to do so. This is not a heavy lift. It's just thinking, again, I had access to AI for that long, right? I knew ChatGPT. I just didn't think about using AI to help me structure a case in an organization to be able to go and try to get my falsely suspended account restored. And I just wanted to know I've exhausted all my options. That's the thing for me, and I think for everybody. Losing something, it can be painful. I mean, there's loss to it. In some cases, you lose your entire livelihood. Luckily, that didn't happen to be the case. It was more like a fly in the Vaseline for me. So it's with knowing that I exhausted all the options and wasn't getting anywhere. I thought, well, what are other options? What is well, talk to an attorney. Well, that's it could be expensive, and I don't know if it's worth. Like, is there anything more I can do? And that's when I realized, like, wait, I had all these pieces in front of me. I knew the state AG existed. I knew that the Better Business Bureau. I knew all these places existed. I just didn't necessarily know. Oh, this would have been a better process to initiate up front rather than, indefinite later. So even knowing that something like this existed could be enough to get people to start to be able to solve problems on their own, independent of anyone's skill or service, using AI to their own advantage, becoming, there's still going to be one person amongst a sea of millions, but giving them a louder voice, or giving them a feeling that their complaint is going to be heard and registered. This state's AG's job was not to litigate a case. The state AG was just there. This department was specifically there to bring the company to the table at a higher level to recognize what, like, an actual human being to look and say, oh yeah, clearly, this is what's going on. So then it was a delta of like, is this person going to give up? Is this, going to cost us more? Is the state AG going to continue to receive complaints, at which point there's a class action or the state goes after the company? So a lot of these bigger companies are going to be brought to bear because the voices of these individuals, together is a stronger voice, and AI can effectively do that. It can level the playing field.
I don't want to draw too much attention away from this specific endeavor, but if you'll forgive me to ask a kind of futurist-oriented question about the balance between the individual and the corporations in this case. You navigated their security through obscurity with AI. Normally, the thing, like you just said, normally if a company was using that kind of protections, people would have to go to their state attorney general. You would build up a threshold amount, and normally the state attorney general, their response would be a larger action against the corporation to be like, no, you guys have to fix this. You have to make this more navigable. Let's adjust the government regulations so they're easier. Even if that's the case, that's holding that's handcuffs on the way the company operates. That kind of non-human system gets fixed because humans bash against it repeatedly. Humans have frustration and agony batting against it. The futurist in me wonders if we aren't actually heading into a space where both the corporations and individual users will be so much more capable of navigating a intensely cumbersome system because of AI, either for writing writing my own licensing documents for models or all those kind of things. Like, I have that capability now, and I also can easily navigate these bad systems. Like, do you see this as being something that's like, yeah, it's great that an individual can navigate that, but does it mean that the cumbersome systems will persist more?
No. I think we are headed into a fundamental, like a tectonic shift with software. Like the writing is on the wall. Like it's no longer going to be you visit a website, you go through a form, you go through the way that they set it up, or their developer made it exist. Which, for whatever it's worth, I know people complain and say, "Oh, AI software is slop." Dude, have you seen what humans have been writing? Because let me tell you, most of the UX out there is absolute trash. I'm not talking UI. Like, the user experience is trash. AI abstracts that. So they may have a cumbersome system, with all these documents that you go through all these loops and you try to read all the help files to try to, talk to a support person and get a ticket. It's a mess. You're caught in a quagmire. And in some cases, or many cases, I don't have a specific number, but it's set up artificially to basically curb any kind of need for them to fix the problem. As in, well, that's just the system and they have to work through the system. Well, if AI busts through that, and we're not talking like all this futuristic agentic stuff, just AI, period, end of story. Drag it into Claude, have Claude figure out what's going on, or Gemini or ChatGPT, whatever, have it figure out what's going on and then tell you what to do. It's not even a time savings as much as it is a fundamental shift in the way that we're using software to achieve certain outcomes. So they can make their system as complex as they want it to be. Great, AI will figure it out. So that's the change. It's no longer about the UI, the Chrome, if you will, not Google Chrome, but the Chrome, like the what we see. The user experience is going to be problem, solution. That's it. It's not going to be jump through all these flaming hoops. It's being able to abstract that layer, which has been the only layer that we've known. Software has been, it's in front of us. It's on our phone. It's on our screen. That's what we interface with as human beings. That's the system that we have to go through. And then how they manage the system is how they manage the system. But the problem with that is that it doesn't scale. It won't scale. And certainly now that the cat's out of the bag, horses out of the barn, whatever metaphor you care to use, AI in these tool sets are able to, not even use that stuff. They just know exactly, well, this is the thing you want. Well, this is how we get to what you want. And so these systems that are predicated on the model of making it more difficult to get to what you want to get to, they're going to disappear. I mean, it's just like, for years, oh, you want to cancel your account, you got to call a phone number. What century is this? I mean, some companies still do that nonsense because they're trying to upsell you, right? And I think in some states that may even be, it's questionable, but I think if the legislation hasn't been passed, may be illegal in some states, if not going that direction, because it's hostile. And so there's been a massive problem between organizations and corporations and their customers or constituents for a number of years that it has not been changeable. Software may have made it easier to do certain things, but that's going to be even easier still that we've abstracted those complex layers from the equation. They're no longer relevant, right? I don't have to search and build and cobble and take these notes and figure out solutions. I can just drag all that stuff into a chat window and have it build it for me. That's problem solving. And this is what people don't understand. All these naysayers, and they're starting to get a little, tiresome, right? Well, AI is the flash in the pan and there's all these. Dude, you're not paying attention to the problems, the real problems that it's solving. I mean, yes, I've done some fun stuff, satisfied, some itches that I've had, but I've also solved problems, like real problems that I've had. And the more the average person, not the techie, not the person who listens to technology crap all day long because they don't care. If their phone boots, it's fine. They don't care. It's like me in a car. Does it have a steering wheel? Yes. Can I listen to audio? Awesome. Okay, I'm good to go. Give me some, bonuses. Yes, I'm set. I'm not a car guy. I never will be. And most people use technology in the same way. They don't need to be a technologist to be able to harness AI. So when you've got a device that makes AI experiences like chat more native, whether it's on an iPhone, Android device, Windows, Linux, whatever, and you understand that you're looking at it through a different lens rather than point, click, download. No. All that's going to get abstracted. All that's going to slowly disappear and then suddenly disappear because these systems are just going to talk to each other. This isn't even pie in the sky. This isn't even it's going to happen because it's happening at a very small, low level today. And so these big corporations, they're going to have to adjust big time, because instead of the people who may be just a little more savvy than average, knowing, okay, this is what I got to do to this, and I just install this skill and do that, how everybody's going to have that capability. Now everyone's going to be able to do that. And you can make your system that much more difficult to get through, but at what point you're wasting resources instead of fixing the problem. You're going to keep running into the same problems more and more. The more people use these tools or build their own tools, as they can do as non-technical users, to solve their problems. And then vicariously, for the people that might license it, open source, whatever, everybody else might be able to solve that problem too. So the same issue is happening with big software companies like SaaS models, software as a service, right? Where they're getting undercut. Like, I don't need to download an app to do something anymore. I'm like, why you want me to? You're going to charge me $5 for these? I'm like, I don't. Here, I'll ask this to do it. Like, I go directly to AI, and it may not have the perfect package for it, but you look at Stack Overflow, right? In this mountain, this bell curve, right? When it was starting, when it was launching, the pinnacle, when we were going through the pandemic, and then ChatGPT's early, and then boop, down to nothing. because like it couldn't cope. Like the human to human need for support. Well, why do that when I can roll my own, get the solution I need, or build the solution that I need, more importantly. And that's what's going to happen with a lot of industries. They're going to bell curve. We just don't know what that's going to look like. That's the question. It's not whether or not it's going to happen, it's what it's going to look like and how fast it's going to happen. So yeah, I know these industries are shifting. CEOs are, laying people off. They're blaming AI. I think it's potentially poor leadership or uncreative leadership. I do think I'm rather bullish on the CEOs and leaders that are pushing AI as tools for the people that work for them and their teams, because everybody can be vibe coding, everybody, and you can be solving your own problems or building prototypes for somebody else to better solve, to help you get from point A to point B as a company, and building those skills. No longer, is the software developer, the top of the food chain in terms of getting something done. You can solve your own problem without a software developer. That is today. It's a reality today. 10 years from now, think about the first iPhone versus the 10th one, right? Just massive difference. And the same thing's going to happen here. The difference is it's going to force everything to shift. Force it.
Oh, it will. It will absolutely. The thing that's at least for me, my own self-evaluation of what I'm able to achieve with the apps, and I think you've already said as much with this connecting to unlocking your stuff. Like, what you need for it to be better is partnership and support from other real people at this point. Like, this tool worked for you, and you were able to use it and achieve your goals. And if you really wanted it to be a product, if you really want it to be a final deliverable thing, and again, everything I'm saying, as far as the way I think of delivering my products, I know that my code is going to have problems. I know that it's going to be lacking. I expect that someone with more coding experience who comes onto the project would be able to identify things that are shortcomings and help me shore them up and adapt for better scalability. But I have something in my hand now that I could not have before, which is, for me as an artist, for me as like a person with crazy ideas, is I have like an artifact that I can be like, here, I actually have a thing. It's not just a white paper. It's not just a napkin drawing to say, here's my idea. I have something that works and worked for me. Would you, engineer, coder, network person, like to be involved in making this viable thing? I do think that at least the way it operates now, and my personal hope is that we will still keep people in the loop, but it's not gonna be ready for prime time. I think a lot of people who are like, this is ready to sell, and I'm like, me personally, that's where the line of slop is. Like if you think, I did it and it works, ship it and make someone pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, no, you got to get volume, you got to get testing, you got to get people involved. And it's like the same processes that exist with anybody getting a product working previously still exist.
They still exist, but the speed at which you can adapt is breakneck. Like, every 5 minutes a new model drops, every 5 minutes this changes, seriously, like I can't, it's a fire hose every day. It's a fire hose, which is exciting and exhilarating but frightening at the same time, because we're moving at the speed of business, right? So like the economy is, I don't care what anybody says, it's trash. The job market is a dumpster fire. Like, no one knows what's happening or what's going to happen, and then you throw on top of all the geopolitical stuff this AI thing, and suddenly now, like, what you thought you could build as a startup, like Claude could wipe you out tomorrow. Like, it's like, oh, it's cute. Well, you're doing what with AI? Here's our product. Like, oh, that's it. They got distribution, right? So like that is, or Claude, Anthropic is what I meant. So yeah, it's I'm looking to solve problems that I've had, but I'm also now turning to friends and colleagues to ask what problems they have, or just listening, just paying attention. Like my friend who lost access to his Discord account, and I only found out not because he texted, but because I saw it on social media. I'm like, oh, hey, I wonder if what I did would be helpful to you. Did you know that you could do this, right? Acting kind of as an advocate, because he's just saying, I don't know what to do. I went through support and I don't know what to do. And I think most people, when they go through support, they don't do anything, they just assume it's done. They're like, that's it. I can't do anything else. And they don't want to go through the extra hurdle to submit their case to, let's say, their state's AG or whatever that happens to be at the level of government, whatever country you happen to be in, if it exists, right? It's feeling so overwhelmed because you don't understand the system. That's where AI comes in and says, okay, well, you don't need to understand the system. Tell me your problem. All right, okay, this is the system we got to use. This is how we have to go through the system as it exists today to help you resolve your problem. But again, like with software, we've come from an era of, going to the store to buy software off the shelf for $50 a pop and you got what you got, no updates, to downloading software, to, using whatever software we're using on the web, to now creating our own, right? Like this has just been this huge arc, and it will continue to evolve. People are still feeling that way about technology. They don't understand the power that can very well be unlocked from the same prompt that you and I could both use. And I think that's something that that's exciting to me, to be proselytizing that as an idea to entrepreneurs, small business owners, people who have problems that nobody has been able to solve. They can start solving it themselves. And if they get stuck, they can ask, whether it's AI or another, person in their community, to be able to come to some kind of resolution. That's incredibly powerful. This is realistic. This isn't just I built a SaaS that made $1 billion. There are people who are doing that. Hey, more power to them. But it was something that, hey, I had a problem. I got it solved. AI helped. That's AI. That's something that's not a flash in the pan. That's something that was absolutely worth, more than what I might be paying for on a monthly basis to access any one of these tools.
What do you think about the AI being able to watch your screens or watch what's in front of you through your glasses, whatever it is, notice what problem you're having without you having to explain it, and just go out and solve it?
That's great. I think it's happening. I think there's software you can now install, at least on the Mac, where you hover over it and say, I'm trying to do this, and then it takes over and then does it for you.
Well, yes, but not only that, but I'm thinking of let's say you had a problem and you just didn't know, and I know a lot of people that are like this, they just don't know how to describe it. They don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It will just know that.
It's
that's
interesting.
the divide right now. Because, what Chris is describing of, I listen to other people's problems, I hear about people having problems, and he's collecting them. He's looking through his knowledge of other existent skill sets, and what that skill is either somewhere in the line between being a designer or being a project manager. And those are the people who have been in those situations that you're describing, which is, what am I seeing in front of me? What is this? What is the problem? And admittedly, that's a extremely difficult skill right now.
I think if the AI was watching it at all times, it would just know what the problem is. It would be able to just...
Well, with enough context. So
Right.
I think we're going there. I think we are. Whether it's on screen through a third-party app or whatever, those things, they do exist right now. I'm not going to name any names because honestly, I can't remember any of them. I don't have them installed. I'm not there. But eventually, it's going to be baked into eyewear. I'm more than confident, whether there's lenses or not. I'm very bullish, and I was not bullish at all with the Vision Pro. I thought walking around with these clunky headsets,
sure.
It was not going to work.
You need it in
right?
this form factor.
It needs to be something that we understand. It's very comfortable. Whether it's heads up or not, it's happening now. But we're not even at iPhone 1.0 stages with this stuff. We're still in the dark ages. So where we're going to be as it continues to advance is going to be much more and more powerful. Whether we're talking about devices, that we wear on us. I've got not a problem that I've been wanting to solve, but I'm looking to basically create a company. I was telling Holt here before the stream, in the state of Washington, I can form an LLC that is not a nonprofit, not a not-for-profit, but something that works to build community and the social good. So it's a different tax structure. It's a different, kind of entity to basically get kids toys, as in have a pop-up space where I take donations, redistribute toys for free to kids, get a truck, into various communities and give toys away, let kids trade toys, they could buy them, if certain ones were for sale. And the idea is to help kids that otherwise couldn't get a toy, or to keep these products from ending up in the landfill, and kind of not necessarily keep them circulating, but get them to the people that would otherwise want them, but just couldn't get them. So I was looking to do all that. And I talked it through with my girlfriend, didn't record the conversation. Talked it through in a meeting today that happened to record the conversation, and then I had another meeting I didn't record the conversation. So it's piecemeal. But if I had a device on me or I remembered, I'm like, here, can I record this? Boom, go. All those notes, all that data can be synthesized into a more coherent structure to be able to better execute upon. So even if I don't know what I'm looking at, I know what kind of context I might need to be able to solve the problem. Or maybe AI says, hey, you're going down this rabbit hole. This is what you need to do here. Let me stop you right there. We're not there yet with any of the models. They're still a bit sycophantic, but they're designed that way purposefully. So in being able to capture everything, again, with permission at this point, although I think that permission is slowly going to disappear, because I think it's going to be assumed that everyone's recording everything all the time. I really do think that. And I know that's dystopian, but I
honestly just assume that anyway.
No, I don't think
it's a good thing to assume.
I don't think that's the dystopian part. I mean,
I don't mind it either, honestly.
Doesn't bother me. I mean, Lord knows I've been recorded.
So
I stream. So
all of the problems that you're describing, though, like, these are things that you're bringing a unique problem, and you're, even before you get to AI, you're proposing a unique solution. Now, AI, in the case of like I don't want to just call this arbitrage, but it's effectively that. It's goodwill arbitrage. AI is going to be incredibly helpful with identifying existing channels and finding partners who might be able to help you deliver things, or finding partners that might be able to help you identify existing need. But the farther you move outside of an existing pattern, and again, I think a drastic change needs to happen to the models for the idea that it can just see what you're doing and like identify your problem, is that it's their pattern recognition.
Yeah, it's pattern recognition. It's not creativity.
It's also what's going to happen next. So the more your idea is outside of the bell curve, the more it's going to correct you back to the. That's where
human ingenuity and creativity come into play. Not to stomp over you, Pixel.
No,
you're fine. It's something. I mean, I've thought about this for a number of years, since I produced the pop culture events years ago, and I had a lot of fun. I think, how can I do this again? How can I do this all the time? How can I do this every weekend? Well, I need a space. Well, how am I going to get a space? Well, I've never done retail before. I've never managed that before. Like, how can I structure the company such that it'll work, and that there is a lot of goodwill, and that I can, funnel donations and find sponsors and do all these things and be active, and I can do those things. I don't need AI to operate at this stage. I don't need it to operate what it is that I want to operate. I need it to help me better synthesize what it is and help me come up with a coherent game plan, such that I can step into step 1, step 2, step 3. Because otherwise, just like any case, I've got a smattering of information, smattering of ideas, and I need to bring them together. I need to tell that story more effectively. And so for AI in this sense, that's what that's the role it's fulfilling. I don't need it to riff. I don't necessarily even need it to do outreach at this point in time. I think a lot of that could very well be handled by a human being if given enough direction, but you need to be able to set the direction. I need to be able to not just form a coherent thought, but to be able to present it to somebody else. And so in many ways, the way we work with software is we have a problem. We try to make the software work the way that we need it to work to solve the problem. Now we can abstract that software because we understand that problem. We know the problem. Each one of us has that. Even my dad has a problem. And I said, just ask AI to do it. Nah, I don't want it. That's where a lot of people are. They're afraid. It's daunting. It's overwhelming because they're thinking of software the way it was a decade ago, but not the way it's going to begin to operate, if not operating that way today.
I think you're right in a lot of the assessment of the capabilities, but I do think that it's super important for someone who is well-versed in AI like you to stay aware of how much you've had to put into it to get it working. Because I mean,
it's less and less though.
No, but we do that. Other people I work with who make games and make art do this all the time as a litmus test. You just turn off all your cookies, open your browser in incognito mode, and actually go and try and search for your own art. Search for what you actually get, and you kind of get an echo back of like what the real footprint you have out there on, because the footprint you see of you is always wrong. And I mean, I've been spending a week like knee deep in some of the skills that you shared last week, and I've been able to see the difference between a vanilla Claude response to something and a response with this skill. And absolutely, I'm at the point that I'm like, what is Anthropic even doing shipping Claude without some of these skills? Some of these development skills, you're like, my point of view is that you said sycophantic earlier, Pixels, but it's not just that. It is, what was the phrasing I used? It is that it doesn't challenge your initial prompt enough. It is too conforming. It is too willing. The skills, your build package is all about, don't just accept the first prompt that's given. Be like, no, in your case, it needs a structured like 6 artifacts before it even begins to think about writing code. But the idea being that Claude shouldn't be as accepting of someone's prompt. Shouldn't be, if you asked any expert, if you went to your friend who's a coder, he said, make me this game, and you just told them one thing, they'd be like, fuck off. Like, you guys, you have to tell me more about it. You have to be more detailed about it. Otherwise, it's no longer yours. You're just handing off an idea. I had an idea about kind of how I wanted to see AI image generation work that's different than the way AI image generation has gone. It's gone more towards the median, making things look more average. Like all the images of people, you got the blonde-haired women and all the kind of like tropes of AI, centered subject matter, all these things that someone with an art background is going to just look at and it doesn't matter how high quality an image is, artist background people are going to see it as a different thing. So I went through one of the really compelling things about something that you've used called an inversion engine is it's just like its entire premise, the entire function is to just like challenge the idea. Like you've established the idea, you've established the plan, and it's like, all right, now take a step back and rip this idea to shreds. And it's like, I loved it. I loved having the AI use
the inversion thinking.
Yeah. To be able to no longer just be like, oh yeah, I'll just comply with you. I'll just make the thing you said to ask. It's like, no, here's why you shouldn't even take another step. I'm like, amazing.
At one point though, does it can it be too combative, right?
Oh.
Any
Well,
idea that you have, it could push back against, even if it's a good one, even if it develops into a good one.
It's not just about pushing back. It's about pushing back the same way that professionals expect peers to push back. You expect someone to push back
Or a manager.
with structured responses, which are taking into account a lot of different factors. I mean, I would go from my art school background, I would say the most formative class I had was a life drawing class, but the undercurrent of that class was actually that every week we brought our stuff in and the instructor and the rest of the class gave real critique, a real like, oh, here's what's wrong with it. Oh, you got this line wrong. And the dividing line was there were students that couldn't take it and they were like, oh, well, I did this because this. I was like, oh, it's like that because he's an alien. It's like, shut up. We're all giving you gold here. Every bit of information we give you right now is input for you to consider. It's still your art. You don't have to adapt. Same with the program. It's still your idea. It's given me an inversion engine thing that has torn it to shreds and said that there may not be a market in existence for the idea, that my basic premise of other people not liking how AI image generation works could be completely wrong. Any steps I take beyond that are me being like, okay, thanks. Good feedback. I'm
going to do it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to smash my head into the wall myself.
Yeah, in fact, that the skill that I did here before, I was like, okay, I need to run this through the inversion engine to say, what am I missing? Like look at this with a critical eye. Like, where could I get in? And so dialing it in, making it stronger before I release anything. I want to make sure I'm like, it may not be airtight, but am I on the right path? How do I package this? And I'm vibe producing as I'm going, right? I'm saying, no, it went one direction initially, but we got to pull that back. We got to do something else. We got to try this. This isn't working. This isn't positioned right. Even down to the point where I didn't have a name for it. I'm like, I didn't care about the name. The name was irrelevant for me. So, yeah.
It makes me wonder how business is even going to work in the future. If let's say you get an AI that's essentially all-knowing. Okay, well, at that point, does people running businesses even matter anymore? Wouldn't it just be that AI running everything?
Well, I think you're always going to have the need for a human in the loop, but the ideal number of employees is 0. I think you're going to need to have a good idea and problems that can be solved. And being able to solve those problems well.
If it's...
I don't know how people... Here's the problem. I don't know how people are going to continue to make money.
Right, like, that's my point, yeah.
Because...
Is there a point to it if you don't make money?
You can't buy anything, so it's this weird...
No, that's the thing. Right there. Is there a point to it if you don't make money? I almost think we are on the verge of things actually being really amazing, because the only people left making things will be people who actually want to push the needle forward, people who have something in their head that doesn't exist, that they want it to exist. And I do think that, finances are going to be a huge problem. I'm a universal basic income person.
Yeah, UBI.
I think it goes hand in hand with AI taking all our jobs.
Well, it's hand in hand with healthcare, like true healthcare reform in this country, coming hand in. Some people argue, well, we already have UBI. I'm like, no, we don't. Like, you can't. You like, even people with jobs today can't survive. They cannot survive, and it's not like they can't survive because they're buying this, that, and the other thing. No, they can't survive. So, I was having this conversation today with a colleague. There's this huge, I guess, policy certainly in the tech industry, called RTO, return to office. So after the pandemic, all these big companies had all this real estate. Well, we need to justify it. So let's force people back. Oh, it makes them better workers. Well, okay, they're doing that. Gas prices were okay, but now they're twice as much. So now I've had people reach out and say, hey, you want to do contract work? I'm like, I would be losing money. I'd be losing money to work for you because it would cost me X to drive across town to go to you. Like, that's not, X an hour. It's half. Like, who's paying my gas? Who's paying this bill? Who's paying that bill? I'm like, it's not worth it. So it's like, there's a massive disconnect with this economy right now, massive. And that discrepancy, by the way, is getting more frightening because a lot of the people that are collecting the power are the billionaires. And there are billionaires out there, and they might control what we might see on a daily basis. Well, the beauty of AI and local models is that you wouldn't necessarily need to go through like one of these frontier model providers to be able to get something done. You'd be able to do it on your own. You'd be able to live, quote unquote, off the grid. AI is going to make that, I feel, more feasible. It's not going to solve the problem of where you're going to get your food from. I think there is merit in the idea of bartering within the right communities, but we have to put ourselves, and this country's done an absolute crappy job with community thinking and supporting its communities. It just doesn't. We are islands unto ourselves. Like, we're our own person, we're our own family, we're our own unit, and that's it. And community is just a nice to have. It's not a critical thing. And I think we're going to have to come back to the idea and the aspect of community, gathering together, meeting real people, pushing the flesh, finding out what I do, finding out what you do. And like, hey, is there something that, I might be able to do something for you, you do something for me. Saves you money. I mean, it's a business way of looking at things, but that's the oldest system in the world. Is bartering.
But isn't the idea of a company with 0 employees a idea that reinforces an insular community, insular day to day? Your every day is working from home with no one else but yourself on the line.
Yeah, but I don't need to work with somebody else in the same room to be able to work with them. I've gotten more done. Let me put it this way. I got more done working with people remotely if they were on their stuff. If they knew what they needed to do, they had their marching orders, they did their thing, I did my thing, we were good. I didn't need to be in the same room with them. Didn't even need to be close. I got my stuff done. I knew what I was doing.
This is outside of the return to office, the back to office mandate.
You're talking about actual human connection?
Yeah, actual like human connection.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, I personally make it a point to get out damn near every day, run errands, if you will. Yeah, and I sometimes get caught up in that. So but there's we're entering a very interesting period of time, and I know what the doomsayers are saying. I mean, the people that say AI is just a waste of money. All these companies are spending on each other. Like, dude, if this country isn't gonna, here's the problem. If this country isn't going to do it, another country will. And you want to talk about geopolitical nightmares. Like, if another country had its ability to impose a will on another country that would have been a sovereign country, which happens and has happened. It's like a tale as old as time. Like, imagine that with technology. So I understand that problem, but I also understand that the alternative is far worse. If we don't embrace this, and look at it as a series of solutions rather than a series of more problems, I think it's going to do us more harm than good. So
it's the prisoner's dilemma. You've heard of that, right?
Say this, yeah, spell it out.
So basically it is that if I, as a company, and this could go to countries as well, if I, as a company, don't have AI and the intelligence on my side, my company is going to go under. So even if I don't like AI, I have to develop it, or else I'm going to go out of business because someone else will.
You'd be crazy not to, as a small business owner, entrepreneur, or whatever, you ignore it at your own peril. Really, I mean, truthfully, and I just say, well, I don't like, and people complain, and much was to do about it wastes water. I'm like, you waste more water watching a Netflix movie than you do running a query with AI. So shut up.
Did you see
seriously, shut up.
that? Did you see that video of Hank Green? He was talking about how we
No.
spend so much more water on corn than we do with AI, and we don't even.
That's what I'm saying. It's like people they latch onto something that just reinforces their
Yeah,
beliefs
of
or
course,
their biases. We all have the tendency to do that. But what I'm saying is that the detractors who think that AI is pure evil, I don't think have used it. B, I don't think they've used it in a way that would solve a problem. They see it as, oh, you can generate an image, big whoop, or you can rewrite a paragraph, big whoop. I'm like, you can do a lot more with it than that. A lot more. Yeah, you could do that, sure. But think about even the rewriting, right? Even the rewriting of something. I've drafted something that I thought was rock solid. I was like, okay, this is the way I want to write it. And AI says, yo, you sure you want to say this? It's like
right. It's exactly
but,
what I tell people all the time. It's like if I was in college and I was writing an essay or something, I would write it myself, have it tell me what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then rewrite it myself.
Say it knows my voice, right? It knows, but it says, "Yo, if you say this, you're basically you said this earlier, and now you're counteracting your argument." I'm like, damn, that's right. Okay, so I got to rethink that. And so if you use it as that the inversion engine approach, where you don't set AI up as an adversary, but you set it up as a friendly colleague, someone who's going to tell you the truth and do so without worrying about any kind of social graces. It's just going to tell you A, B. Like it doesn't know. It knows what you want.
The wonderful thing about this technology is that you are not judged by the machine. Right.
Well, that you know of, that I know.
Yeah. But I mean more of like I mean more of like if it gives you advice on something, you don't feel like a human. If you're talking to a human, you constantly feel judged by that person.
Dude, I was so angry with Gemini. I ripped Gemini a new one, but you'll be happy to know that I actually built something in Gemini today, and I'll be shipping it soon. Here I can pull it up very briefly. This thing. Oh, here. Sorry.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like a Typhoria or like it's got to fix a few bugs. Looks like it got caught in the thing, but it's basically
I don't know where dots.
Kinetic typography, kinetic type, and like so there are different designs, different patterns that you can rotate and change fonts and all that stuff. Just a fun little thing that I was inspired by. I found an old bookmark. I'm like, I think I could create that. It still needs to go through a few more bug fixes that I'm looking for, but I thought this was a kind of a neat little, just kind of an offshoot, kind of like just a brain fart, but I used Gemini for it. Claude would have, I think, clobbered it. But when Gemini first, or Google first released the Gemini 3.0 Pro models, it was not, or did you come back? Pixel, your camera dropped. When it released the models, I was so angry. So I hadn't touched it in a while, but I was so angry. I was ripping. What the F are you doing with it? I did that with Claude today. I'm like, what the F is this? Like, we worked all afternoon. What the F is this? Like, I was like, it had to know, like, because I don't do that with Claude. I don't. Like, I've got a respect for Claude. Like, I'm like, okay, it's great.
I'm pretty sure one of my threads today started with "you incompetent machine." I wanted to address the idea of the document authorship that Pixels brought up and mention something that I've been working with, and it's something that I think a lot, specifically when you get to the idea that a lot of people who talk about it like it's an evil thing. We talk about AI like it's evil, and I find more often than not, and this is true with huge different types of technology, huge different types of experiences, people will come at it with one question, they'll come at it with one image generation, and then it'll spit out garbage because, unfortunately, I do think that these systems out of the box are lacking. And then they will just say, like, see, this is a waste of time. Why would anybody spend any time with this?
Yeah.
And the distinction between that person and the other people, who I'm incredibly skeptical of it still, but I do try to verse myself in what it's capable of. Same as we were saying earlier, the prisoner's dilemma, that I want to be the person with the skill sets to work with this. The thing that I do to maintain authorship, and I've been looking at keeping this in some other things. I haven't codified it into a skill yet. It's a general personal setting that I have, is do not ever. So Pixels was talking about writing a college document, like you would write it and then feed it to it. I've done the same thing, but the response is do not insert anything. Do not insert any idea. And I'm sure people would say that it's an inception thing, that the AI, but what my directive is, and I haven't, like I said, the skill would probably be like Socratic method, but the requirement is that all the AI does is ask questions. And it's like, I've told it, if you think that something's missing, if you see a section and you think I've gone off the rails, that I've gotten distracted, I've gone on a tangent, or that I haven't put enough details into it, do not insert anything. I want you to ask me the question. What goes here? How? Explain this part to me a little farther. It doesn't make sense. Explain this. I don't know how you got from A to B. And that ability means that your college paper is still yours. It's doing the job that a professor or somebody would do reading your paper,
right?
Where
they would say,
a friend,
you
didn't connect A to B. Have you reread this? And you'd be able to say, oh yeah, I haven't been clear there. And so you can do it for everything from analytical papers that it has libraries of data to cross-reference you on. It could actually refute your points, but you don't ask it. I'm not asking it to in creative aspects. I am asking it to just ask me questions. And it can do that with analytical stuff, with factual things, or it can do it with fantasy stuff. Like I've got a D&D setting that I've been working on for my kids that's basically Star Trek meets fantasy in shattered asteroid field, a little bit of Expanse in there as well.
I didn't get into the Expanse. I tried.
And maybe a little more Firefly than Expanse. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely more Firefly.
And I'm able to put these things together. I'm like, this is what this race does. This is this. And they can just be easily like, oh, well, you haven't said who the government is for this race. It's like, I can just say, like, you've left this part out. You haven't said this. You haven't told me this. And it's like, do not ever insert anything. This is my creation. I want it to stay my creation. And if you keep it from doing that, and again, I'm sure it's incepting ideas. They're like, oh, what kind of spaceships do these guys have? You're like, oh, you've already implied that they have spaceships. But that's the same thing that a peer would do. If you asked a peer to do this and you didn't want them to trample all over your idea, if you wanted them to actually give the careful, considered, I've read every line of your 500-page manuscript, and you're like, tell me what to fix, you don't want them to say, oh, well, it needs this. You want them to say, I got a little bit lost here. This bit that you have didn't make sense. And I've done it. Anything that I have like a creative inkling on, I have project folders within Claude where I'm like, in this folder, any question I ask within this scope, cut it. No inserting anything.
Yeah. It's critical to set up ground rules, to set up restrictions. And I think that's where people don't realize just how powerful a guardrail is. And when they dive into using AI for the first time, or maybe they've used it forever and they're not getting the outputs they want, and then they complain, and rightfully so. If you're pouring your heart into something and it's not giving you what you want, of course you don't know what you don't know, and you're told that AI is this amazing thing. I mean, and admittedly, there are like a billion different AI options out there, with a billion more being released every 5 seconds. So, it's difficult to say that, every model is going to perform the same, because it won't. And there's going to be nuance. But not giving your tool, or not having the ability to give your tool guardrails or skills or rules or guidelines, will destroy is too strong a word. Maybe nerf. I'm going to use that word. It will nerf its potential by a massive degree, because you may be able to tell it where it's going, but you also haven't told it what its boundaries are. You haven't restricted it and let it have freedom within those restrictions. And without doing that, well, I'll say this: the output could very well be the difference between night and day. If you've had a bad time with AI, it could be that you just didn't give it, your parameters. You didn't have the option to give it its parameters that was required for your particular idea, your project, your whatever your outcome was. I think that is, I think that's going to be something that a lot of people miss, because it's not intuitive. It's not in the dialogues. Hey, you may need to do that. No, that's something that you need to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think that lacking those guardrails, I wouldn't say it's nerfing it, but it is. There was another interview. I can't remember the guy's name. Senak. Where you're not nerfing it by not giving it rules and restrictions and the parameters that you want to use it for. Instead, what you're doing is you're using the fully vanilla version. Again, it's a pattern recognition tool. It's like, if you don't give it guide rails, if you don't give it parameters that say, here's what I actually expect of you, then the patterns that it's going to gravitate towards are going to be exactly what the mass of population has. And I don't know that. I think we're all learning that none of us is the special snowflake we thought we were. Statistically, many of our ideas are well tread, but if you want your idea to be unique and to stay yours, like, you've got to keep those skill guide rails in place. Otherwise, the idea will gravitate towards the median, and and the analogy I would say is like, every one of our phones is custom to us. And it'd be like, how
even the algorithm.
Right. No, but even your phone, even like where the icons are, even what's installed, like trying to pick up and use Claude out of the box, even the best models that you can find, it's like picking up someone else's phone. And you're like, what is this? How do you live like this? Where have you put your stuff? And I think that there's more of a learning curve than I think some of us who have been playing with it. I've been playing with image generation stuff since it first showed up in like 2022 with like I don't know, Cronenberg looking weird things. I've still
what's it called? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Horrible name.
It was fascinating to me. It was
diffusion, stable diffusion,
early diffusion stuff, and it was visually stimulating, conceptually stimulating. The fact is, I have a photo of my son, who I think he was like 3 at the time, and I fed it through one of these things, and it hallucinated just a total acid trip with like eyeballs and faces everywhere. And I think the image is like amazing. And it's definitely something that it's like, well, I don't show this to my wife, because she's like, what is this nightmare thing you've made of our son? But the options to have that, the options to have drastic diversion is super cool. And I lean away from it being the vanilla experience.
You should. Most people should, and then they realize just how much power is sitting there to do one thing or another. We're over an hour though. And the day's gone on. I'm glad you were able to join. And you too, Pixel. Thanks. I know you were doing things on your screen. It was blacked out. I figured. See here. Can I? Give me a second. No, I was gonna try to remove your. How do I add him in just audio only? No.
You probably have
I thought I'd be able to.
a layout.
No, there's a way to add
Shrunk
people
down in the corner.
No, you can add people to the stage with just audio, but I can't find it for some reason. It's bizarre. Guest constraint. No. Odd. Okay, not gonna find it. Anyway,
Testing.
yeah. So good conversation.
Testing.
That's
Oh, there it
kind of
is.
thing. Yeah, I got you.
You got potato
it wasn't
quality,
you.
but
It was
you're
me.
here.
So keep your video thing open as we close, because then it'll upload a higher quality version of your video
Right,
that hopefully the remix will, because I'm trying to get clips for it. But
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
you'll love Joel Telling is going to be on May 30th. He's the creator for the Control Alt Create Live. He's the Fireside guy, so I'm having him as the guest.
So I
it's
had a
gonna be a
question
good
though.
Yeah.
So as for our education system, okay, so I've heard that we now have high schoolers that don't know how to read, okay, at this point. Now that could be a number of different things. Could be COVID, could be could be AI in general. Going forward, since we have access to so much information, do you, especially for smaller children, now AI can be used to make learning more rapid, but at that age, at the smaller ages, you do not have the want to learn necessarily, and so you have to be forced to do it. Because there are a lot of different subjects that students would rather just not have to do. Okay,
Right.
well, but some of that is kind of necessary for critical thinking, things like that,
Right.
right? Okay, well, at what point do we hand everything over to the AI just because it's smarter than everything and we're never going to need to be critical thinkers anymore? I think we're always going to be able to or we're going to need to be critical thinkers, of course, but at what point does the mass population just hand it all over to the AI just because it's easier?
Well,
Let me say one response from my experience. My wife works at a education tech company. My neighbor across the street is a second grade teacher who has dealt with these apps coming into the space, and he's actually hostile towards pretty much the work my wife does. But the things that keep a student engaged are not going to be rectified by switching it over to an AI. Like I love explorative kids that want to have 100 different questions and have just unending curiosity. Amazing. Much more of my experience than the idea that kids have to be forced to learn personally. But
You think that people or kids are naturally curious?
I think that the more they could explore the thing they want to learn about, rather than have to be doing a thing that is this core 3 R's type of curriculum, the more students are engaged. But I do the one guardrail that I will say, and my wife's company has used AI for their back end stuff to like catalog their giant database of lessons and things, but they don't have any intention and there's no priority to surface AI to students because, and I've run into this regularly. The reasons I curse at AI is because I've run into this on an almost daily basis of it saying something that I'm like, no, that's not quite right. That's a little bit wrong. And when it says something that's wrong about art or games or something I know deeply, I have the ammunition to immediately refute it. And I can immediately say, no, that's wrong. It's categorically wrong. Here's why. But when it says something wrong about coding, the code experiments that I'm working on, I end up wasting many more cycles, 15 minutes, hours at a time, dealing with something that was just a wrong assumption that AI made. And children are a package. Children are defined by the things they don't know. And so if they ask something and if AI gives them a wrong answer, they may spend many cycles believing that one thing was right and then like butting their head on the subsequent cascade of other failures that stem from that, and they won't ever understand why. And so it's like that aspect of any kind of hallucination, and we've got a thick skin to it. We're like, you got that wrong, like fuck off, like that's not right. But any of us who are experienced with it have developed a thick skin. Children do not have a thick skin. Children will absorb everything that they're given, and handing over the influence of children to AI is truly like without a parent there, without a teacher there, like at the ready, like it's not a trustworthy prospect.
Right. It's bad, but do you think that the mass population, though, in this next cycle of humans that are growing up, do you think that these parents and teachers obviously would,
Yeah.
but the parents particularly would probably just give them the AI and just let them run wild with it?
I hope
And
not.
not all of them, of course, but
I've Googled questions. When my kid asked me a question, I pride myself on the amount of the unending whys that my kids ask. They'll ask why, and like I've never said just leave it alone or quiet. I'm like, I will always answer the questions, and the older they've gotten, the more seeking answers to those questions have been like, well, I don't know that. Let's go research. And it meant going to Google, and I think now it's a reasonable first step for some of that to be an AI person. If an AI can serve up an infinite quantity of information to a teacher so that the teacher can answer the questions of 20 little kids who are all full of the whys and what ifs, that's true ammunition. But like for the kid to ask it directly, that's like I hope we have young, passionate, maybe less experienced teachers who are able to answer more of the questions for their kids with these tools. But
I feel like people are inherently lazy. and they're gonna go they're gonna go for the path of least resistance. And that if it's AI, then they're gonna offload a lot of their thinking to that. We did it too. Phone numbers. We don't need to remember phone numbers anymore.
Nope. I don't know my girlfriends. I haven't known her for over a year. Isn't that funny?
I mean, and also you got to think. Okay, so
things, right?
The argument about cognitive thinking, though, is also I want to bring up in the past. In the past, we did not. A lot of people want to say, okay, we're going to lose our critical thinking due to AI. Okay, well, another thing I was thinking about is that, back before we invented all of these things that we need to know about, well, what was the critical thinking then? You obviously didn't need to know about something that wasn't invented.
I think when a student, because let's abstract, age from this. It's not just about, a young person versus an old person, a student, someone willing to learn, or someone.
And when I said young, I meant like really young.
Yeah, like a true kid. When the problem is something that they need to solve, their willingness drives their ability to solve that problem with the tools at their disposal. And when a class has, let's say, text that they're teaching against, or every student has the same problem, you might understand the generalities and the processes, but it's not going to stick half as much as having your own problem and knowing that there's a tool to help you solve that problem. So I think that it is entirely plausible that if AI is contextualized in a school environment, mind you, my degree is in English education. I am officially a teacher, licensed and everything. It hasn't been renewed since the beginning, but that's my background. When someone knows that a tool can solve their problem, they're going to work to solve their problem using the tool at their disposal. And so if AI is contextualized in that capacity, it's powerful. If it's just there to, answer a question, it's not going to be helpful at all. And I think that's the knee-jerk reaction to AI in schools. They're like, well, it's going to give you the answer. I'm like, well, maybe you've got to give them a different problem. Maybe you have to, confront them with something that they have to solve that can't be taught in a book, and that's going to be far more personal. And I'm not saying that teachers aren't, going to do the work, but education's another thing that needs to be reformed. So when I taught my class at Lewis and Clark College, and that wrapped up, it was a 6-week thing. The final, it was a vibe coding course, teaching people how to use vibe coding to solve problems. These kids, these college age. The final project was, okay, now that I've taught you some of the mechanics behind it, now that you understand what it can do, create something that's going to help you solve a problem for the internship that you're about to go into. That was it. That was the high level instruction. It wasn't, hey, what's this, what's that, what's it? No, that was a high level thing. And you know what? They did it. And I didn't care how it worked. They were trying to solve their problems best they possibly could using the tools at their disposal. That's the way to use AI.
Yeah, you got the nail right on the head when you talked about using it as a tool to address a problem. When we think about it, we think about, okay, I want to learn stuff, and that's my problem, is I need a way to learn these things, and we'll try and use AI to achieve it. And if you've got a system, if you have an education system that's flawed, where the kids are not motivated, where you haven't given them a reason, you haven't given them both passion and a reason to learn a thing, for that kid, the classwork is the problem. For that kid, the test coming up, the classwork, the assignment they have to do is the problem. So what they're going to do is use the tools in front of them to fix the problem for them. They're going to solve their way out of having learned, but that is a shortcoming of the class,
the system,
and the system. It's
the system.
Yeah.
And I'm mind you,
use it to fix their problems.
I'm a big believer in public schools. I think they're absolutely critical. I think it's the right thing. I think it's nuanced. But the sooner they start bringing these tools into the environment and helping kids recognize various problems and how to use these tools to solve those problems, and structuring the problems maybe as much as they possibly can, because I don't think a first grader is going to have the same problem as a sixth grader. That's the way to integrate. It's not offsetting or offloading the thinking process. You have to think about your problem. You have to know enough to say, yeah, that's a viable solution, or no, that's BS, dude. That's like, what are you talking about? You can't do that. So this is almost antithetical to how the school system has worked. Again, when you're teaching to a single text, teaching to a single curriculum, and everything's formulaic and cookie cutter, this is how we're getting the results. And AI is non-deterministic. School is deterministic. It is like, you want to talk about a clash. It's I don't know how we're going to get through it, but burying our heads in the sand and pointing fingers isn't going to solve the problem. Being able to adapt to this new tool is the only way forward. And I know it's going to be tough. Totally understand. I got a kid who's going to school right now, and I'm doing my best to show her on my end of things how to use these tools to get what it is that she wants her to solve her own problems. That's powerful. So if the teacher's not going to do it in a school, the parent damn well better. And I'm a parent, so I'm not speaking from someone who doesn't have the experience of having a kid. Not saying it's easy, but ultimately that's going to serve the kid better, especially in this day and age where these tools are not going to disappear.
Yeah, they're going to be better served if they know how to use it the way the tech companies are using.
Yep.
Use AI to build something to answer your question. Don't just ask AI to answer your question.
To solve it. I was interested in when my daughter was using Gemini to solve a problem, and it did not give the answer. It stepped through and said, oh, I see you have this. Well, what's this plus this? What's this minus this? Yes, now we need to take this and put it here. So it stepped her through the problem. It didn't solve it for her, which I thought was amazing. Whether she mastered long division, I don't know. But she's doing well with geometry, so yay. Speaking of daughter, she's going to be coming over soon. And like I said, we're over time.
Yeah, it's been stimulating, but we should.
No, always is. That's why I don't mind doing it. I mean, like going this long or this late, I just know that I need to wrap up, and I know I don't want to take up any of your time. That's why I only stick to like once a week. Yeah, obviously next week I'll be back. I'm doing the maker thing on Tuesday. Assuming Matt had a problem where he found a mouse. They found a mouse, and so they're having to go through things. I'm like, okay, you need to take care of that, buddy. So, yeah. No, I'm glad you're able to join, Pixel. Cool, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
100%. Thanks
anytime.
Well, next Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel, and now on Facebook again.